Kicking off our APAC segment, we have someone who knows how to turn communities into something deeper than just networks, into friendships. Paz Pisarski is the co founder of the Community Collective, which started as a small Melbourne meetup and has since grown into a global movement with an audience of over 15,000 people across 18 countries. Along the way, she's trained hundreds of businesses in community led growth, including Canva, Google, and MYOB, and has spoken on stages from Sydney to San Francisco. In this session, Paz will share real case studies from across the Asia Pacific region and reveal the intentional design choices that help communities transform into spaces where members become true friends. Please join me in welcoming the one, the only, Paz Pisarski.
Hey, the crowd goes wild. Woo! Let's give it up for Beth. Oh my God. She has just ran an 8-hour segment of Loop, which is so cool. I am so happy to be here. So thank you so much, Beth, for your incredible hosting and energy throughout the whole 8 hours. I've been here since it started, up at 1 a.m. Melbourne time online this whole time. I'm going to stay here for the whole 24-hour loop because this is pure madness. So Beth, any final words before you head off and hand over the baton?
I'm just so excited. I think there's been no technical difficulties yet, which I'm so excited about. The audience has been so engaged, which has been so fun to see in the chat and the Q&A. And it's just been an absolute pleasure to hear from all of our speakers. So thank you everybody for joining, and thank you for making this dream a reality and to come to life. So Paz, take it away.
I am taking the baton. Welcome down under, everyone. We just landed into the APAC segment of Loop. I'm tuning in from Australia on the other side of the world, maybe around the corner, wherever you're tuning in from. I want you all to open up the chat. I want you to open up the chat. I want you to post where you're tuning in from. We had over 1,015 people register for Loop, which is wild. We have over 35 people here live for our continuous 24-hour event. And I am just so pumped to now be your MC. So I'm taking over from Beth. I've massive shoes to fill, right? But I'm going to do my best with my Aussie accent and just pizzazz flair. So don't go anywhere. It could be nighttime for you, but we're just getting started. It's 9 a.m. where I am. So I am bright, bubbly. I've got my chamomile tea. I don't drink coffee. So I've got my chamomile tea to fuel me throughout the whole time. But hey, we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about friendships, which is very, very exciting. And I'd like to actually tell you a bit of a story as to how Loop came about. If you didn't know the story of how Loop came about, well, I got a message from Beth, actually. And Beth said, Paz, I've got this crazy idea. I was thinking of running this straight 24 online event. Do you want to join? I was like, whoa, let's hear more about that. And then we launched Loop in San Francisco at CMX Summit. I took this photo of Beth. Actually, I didn't take this photo. The photographer took this photo, but it's here on my screen showing you today, where we announced Loop earlier this year back in the first half of 2025, which is so cool. And then we were like, well, we've got to call Francisco at Led by Community. He's our friend, and he is also based in London. He's going to be taking over from me in about 8 hours' time to run the European segment. And then this is us on stage in London announcing Loop at that point, where we made some more friends along the way. And so that's where the three organizations came together of Led by Community, CMX, and the Community Collective to bring Loop to life, which is wild. And of course, it couldn't have been done without these incredible folks behind these amazing organizations. Like, massive applause for Bevy, Gainsight, and Discourse for being our sponsors today. They are our friends here at Loop making this happen. Oh my God, how could we forget about our community partners, Australian community managers, Quip, Community Consulting Collective, the community. How many times am I going to say community today? We might just ban that word altogether, and how fun of a game would that be? But honestly, these are all the friends that have brought Loop to life, and it's just been so phenomenal to see. And that's exactly what we're speaking about today. So I am kicking off with a half-hour session on the secret to building friendships in communities. And now this is very, very interesting because there are a couple secrets that I need to share about not just making friends, but about building communities. But before I do that, I need to do a very important ritual that we have at the Community Collective, which is always starting any online session with an acknowledgement of country. Have you heard of an acknowledgement of country before? Post it in the chat if you have, or just say no if you've never heard. Well, an acknowledgement of country is where we start our sessions in Australia by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we're tuning in from. This is our part in playing reconciliation to the Indigenous population of our country. This is a video of my hometown. This is literally out the front of my house that my brother took on a videographer drone. And I would like to acknowledge the land of the Wadawurrung people. So that is their traditional land, and they are the OG community builders that I'm tuning in from today, which is very cool. But it's amazing to see people tuning in from America, England, Nigeria, Lagos, USA, Seattle, APAC. APAC, how's someone tuning in from APAC? How good. And so definitely feel free to explore the traditional owners of the land in which you're tuning in from as well. And so what's also really key to acknowledge here is that I am tuning in from also as the co-founder of the Community Collective. Now, this has been the place in which I have learned how to build friendships in the context of community building. And so I actually invited two of my friends to start the Community Collective with me. So if this is the first time that you're hearing about the CC, as we like to call it, then we actually started in 2021 when I invited our two friends, Jala and Melia, to co-found and start a meetup for community builders in Melbourne. And this was really the start of our friendship. But the story of how this happened and how three friends came together to actually build a community, how meta is that, was really when we brought together 17 people at the Commons in Cremorne who were building communities in the startup space. It was like mid-pandemic, 2020 kind of vibes. Like we'd just come out of the fourth lockdown in Melbourne, which was the most locked down city in the world just after Buenos Aires. And we brought together 17 people to talk about how hard it was to build community. But what we didn't realize is that that would go viral. And we had hundreds of people signing up to this Airtable registration link. And myself, Melia, and Jala as friends had no idea that this would be the case. And what we didn't realize is that our meetup that started in Melbourne in person would soon be across 18 countries with over 280 members. And so what's wild about that is Melia and Jala and I started as friends, and we came together and we built this community where more friendships have formed. But what we started doing was running this time-bound experience called a community cohort. So today, the Community Collective exists to serve businesses to build an impactful community strategy. We've trained companies like Canva, Google, MYOB, Founders Factory Africa to build a community strategy. This is me across all our cohorts launching the different programs. But what is so beautiful about this is that this time-bound experience has been a container not only for community learning, but for connections. And so that is what I'd like to talk about today. How do you create the container within your community for connections to form? And not just any type of connections, but friendships. We're talking about the sticky, absolutely heart-filling type of friendship where you feel like you can trust this person and support this person. So I hear it. Get to the point, Paz. What's with all the storytelling? Like, tell us the secret of building friendships. Well, before I do that, I have to tell you about a friend that I have met throughout the Community Collective, which is Sasmini. And Sasmini and I connected when she joined cohort number 3. And she joined as a member, and she was a CC in building a community at the Digital Nomad Life, which supports people who are living all around the world and working in different locations. And Sasmini joined many more cohorts after that. She joined cohort 4, cohort 5, cohort 6. She then became an ambassador. She was traveling around Sri Lanka, America. We connected in San Francisco at CMX Summit. And what was really incredible is at some point, Sasmini ended up flying to Australia and we got to meet in person. But what was so beautiful about this is not only Sasmini and I had become friends, I hosted her at my hometown in Jan Juk, where I am right now in Australia. We toured around, we showed her all the different sites. She met all of our incredible other members in person. But Sasmini also told me that she had made a friend in the cohort and she was actually in Australia to attend her friend's wedding. They had met in a group chat online in a cohort connect breakout room. And eventually that led to traveling the world together and joining the wedding in person in Australia. And so This is wild. And I'm not saying you have to build a community just so people fly around the world to attend each other's weddings, but this story is a testament to the power of connection. And so what I want to talk about today is why the hell should any of us actually care about building friendships in our communities, whether you're building a community online, a membership, a cohort, a program, a co-working space, like whatever it may be. Friendships are the lifeline and the beating heart of any successful community. And so I want to help you answer the question today: what is the value of friendships in communities? So first up, I mean, who doesn't love a definition, right? So let's define friendship, because the friendship actually is a noun that is the state of mutual trust and support. So trust and support. I mean, would anyone agree that these two values are important in communities? Post a yes in the chat if you're feeling like trust and support are important things and qualities to have in your online community. Well, I would argue that they are the fundamentals. And building trust in a community between members not only has these incredible benefits for your community, but it actually generates an ROI for your business. Friendships have the power to drive retention. People want to stay. I have this incredible membership at this co-working space in Torquay called Happy Spaces. And basically, I just keep renewing my membership. Of course, I need a place to work. I'm shooting in from my house right now, my home office / music studio. But I keep renewing my membership at Happy Spaces because I've made so many friends. I've met Jimmy and Sarah and James, and they have these incredible events every year. And so of course I want to go to co-working space because I feel like I found my people. So retention, I mean, also generates higher sales if people are renewing their membership to stay a part of your community because they've made so many friends. Referrals. If I have met incredible people, I am now an advocate for Happy Spaces. Anyone that moves down to Torquay, which is about an hour and a half from Melbourne, and so it's a small coastal town in Janjak where I am, there's 5,000 people, there's 55,000 people in Torquay. And basically the surf town, we have a lot of people that move from the big city to the quiet, small coastal town life, which we love. And so when they join and they're working from home, I go, wow, you have to join Happy Spaces. It's an incredible community. I've made so many friends. And people just go, friends? Like, I've just moved from a big city and I don't know anyone here. I would like to make some friends. And so that is strong for referrals. I'm bringing in new members, new people are joining, they're buying the membership. That's great for a community, for the business ROI, and of course for the members. And of course, the impact, the heart of your community. We are changing lives by one trusting and supportive friendship at a time. So now we're all preaching to the converted and we understand the importance of friendships in community. Let me run you through this exact answer, which is how do you create the conditions for friendships to form? I have been studying the art of friendship for the last 6 years by running experiments, even in our own community at the Community Collective, and also down the Surf Coast by building potluck communities of women who also don't have many friends when they move towns. And this is what I have learned. And so how do you create the conditions for friendships to form? Enter experience stacking design. Experience stacking design is an incredible framework that I learned from Chaos Pilot. So I studied learning design with a Scandinavian school called Chaos Pilot, which basically teaches you how to design for the learning outcomes that you hope your members to have. So we run cohort programs. I hope that our members learn how to build a community strategy. And experience stacking design is a framework within learning design that really ensures that you are creating a great experience and the conditions for learning to happen, but also the conditions for connection to happen in your community. So I would like to introduce you to the friendship formula, which has 3 very key fundamental areas, which is depth, frequency, and purpose. So to create the conditions of friendships to happen in your community, so you generate more referrals, higher retention, and impact, you have to have these 3 things at play. You can't have one without the other. Like if you have depth and purposeful friendships, but you never see each other because they're not frequent, I mean, that's just not a friendship that's going to be long lasting if you never hang out again, right? So we need to have these three elements present at all times. And so to walk you through the friendship formula, this is where experience stacking design comes into play, especially in the element of depth. Depth is, of course, the value and the enablement of actually going deep in the friendship. So we're not surface level conversation. How's your day? What's the weather? What do you do? Like, scrap that. We're going deep. And that is where conversations happen, where trust is built and support is built. So experience stacking design says, hey, Pats, if you're designing your community, you need to make sure you have three infrastructures at place. We can call these levels. You need to have three levels. One level is the large group. So of course you might have, in our last cohort, number 6, we had 102 members, pretty large group in an 8-week program. So we had large group settings of where all 102 members could connect. Then we needed the level beneath that, which was the small group setting. So then we need places where people can connect in smaller groups and have smaller conversations and be vulnerable. Then we also need this one-on-one element where people can actually connect with another human without, 101 other people in the room. So in our cohort, what we have done with experience stacking design to kind of put this into practice, we have made sure that we've had these large group experiences. So everyone comes together, we have our cohort kickoff, we have these cohort workshops. There's maybe 80 people live tuning in from lots of different countries, and we're all there learning. We might bring in some speakers. We're learning from the speakers. A similar situation to what we're doing right now in Loop. There's like 250 of us here live having this large group experience. And so that's exciting. We're having questions. We're all learning the same knowledge. We're in that same context. That's great. But here's the catch. Most communities stop here. Let me say that again. Most communities stop here. If you listen to one thing that I say today, please make it this. Like, stop what you're doing right now. Like, put the laptop down, like close the tab, like stop the car. Listen to this. Most communities only connect their members in large group settings, and they miss out on the depth of creating friendships because they're not using and stacking the experience to design for connection. And so the last element is a lot of people might have this large group setting, might have a forum. We have our cohort Slack where everyone can jump in and introduce themselves, but we're missing the smaller group settings. And so this is where communities can obviously design their experience to have smaller elements. We might have co-working, might have a cohort connect. Here are some breakout rooms. Let me start a conversation in a thread. Hey, have you met these 2 other people? Let me DM and put you in a small group chat. Then, of course, the one-on-one. A lot of people do this well, but to do this at scale is having a personal introduction and concierge service when a member joins. So when a new member joins our cohort program, we have them fill out a form that says, hey, here's the entire directory of 100 people, and they have all opted in to be introduced to a small cohort crew, to have a small accountability group to check in on your goals. Now tell me, who do you want to be matched with? And I will then personally introduce you in a Slack group. This is Sandeep and Himal, who connected through the last cohort, and then have the C stands for community people, not cult. Okay, don't get that wrong. And basically, this is where the connection and friendships can form, because obviously you have that depth of conversation. And then, of course, you can go in person. If you can get your members offline and have them connect in person one-on-one, that is where friendships form and you're doing something together. Now, the second element of the friendship formula is, of course, frequency. How frequent are you catching up? I mean, did anyone here ever go to school? The level of frequency at school was high, right? I mean, you had like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, maybe 8 a.m. till 3 p.m. You'd have like multiple classes a day. And then, you know what? They're like, okay, join this sport team on afternoons. You'll catch up on Saturdays. And then, wow, we're all going on a day trip. We've got to get on this tram at Flinders Street Station in Melbourne and all catch up, go on this excursion. And now we're on this school camp and we're hiking. Like, the frequency in school is huge. And that's where a lot of people have like high depth friendships from school, because you have caught up so much time. Now you might have some bullies from school or might not have friends, and that's okay. But the structure that school created is something that we can learn as community builders in designing our space. So how we do this community collective, we have an 8-week experience. You cannot join our community any other time of year except for May and September. We only open our doors twice, and they're closed throughout the entire year because we want to have this depth and this frequency where we bring 100 people in an 8-week container. We have 3 live sessions a week and for 8 weeks straight. Like there's so much happening even outside of this, and members can organize their own meetups in person. So this frequency is huge, and there's a combination of online and in person. But you can't have friendships with just depth and frequency, because where is the support? So that is where purpose comes into play. Without a purpose, then how is the friendship ever going to be long lasting? And how is your community then going to experience those benefits of retention, referrals, sales, impact, feedback, like all the things we love and we just want to tell our boss about, okay? So the thing and the last element of, I'll wrap up the friendship formula before I actually get to introduce you to one of my best friends as well. I'm very excited to tell you. You're gonna have to guess who it is. Can anyone guess who one of my best friends is who is about to join stage? I'll let you pop it in the chat. If you get it right, I'll send you a free access to our resource library at the Community Collective, which has like 480 tools, just because we love gift giving. Anyway, I digress. So purpose. Obviously, we need to give the depth and the frequency of friendships a purpose, have this shared experience. We're going through something together. If you've ever had to go to a conference and then you organize to get your flights together, like going and choosing the agenda. Now we've got to book accommodation. Like you have this purpose and you're both moving countries and travel. Like that's a big deal. So what we do in the Community Collective is in our program, we have everyone create a community strategy. Now we're all on this shared purpose. Now we all have something in common. We're all going over this hurdle and we're trying to complete something together, which is where connections can form, because then you are actually creating something of value and you can relate to one another. So now if I bump into someone in a group chat, I'm like, hey, Leah, how are you going on your community strategy? We have this shared purpose. The community has already created for us. And then that connection can flourish a lot better. And of course, I love cutting through the noise and going deep quickly. So none of that surface level conversation. So we start every session, live session, with a check-in where we get a member to ask this question like, what is the purpose of your life? What is the goal that you want to achieve before the year ends? Who was your best friend in high school? And so we're asking these questions that go straight to the core, and we're having a personal conversation, which might have taken us a long time to get to, but we're starting a session with purpose. So the one best piece of advice that I learned from David Perel, who was a speaker in our cohort number 6 program, he started Rite of Passage, which is an incredible 5-week program. He said, when your new members join your community, you have one extremely important job. And this is the 48-hour friend rule. Okay, just like write this down. I've got my Gainsight notebook here. Okay, if you've got something at home, digital notepad, real pieces of paper, how retro. Remember the 48-hour friend rule. Anytime a new member joins your community, you have 48 hours to ensure that you introduce them to one point of contact and one new friend. Your one point of contact is the person that is from the team. If they've got tech questions, like when's that session? How do I access the recording? My login doesn't work, Paz. So we need to make sure that everyone has one point of contact. So you get all of the things that you need. You know, you go to the hotel, there's reception. Great. I can get all my functional questions done. So when you join, you know, for example, our community cohort, you get a DM from myself and our community lead, Enos. And we say, if you need anything, you've got either me or Enos as your point of contact. So now they've got 2 point of contacts, and then you need one new friend. So within the first 48 hours of a new member joining, we are asking them, hey, have you met Brad? He's also in Adelaide. Sean, do you know Dickie? Because he's actually traveling around in Sydney at the moment. And so we're trying to have a connection, because joining a big, broad group setting and not stacking that experience to design for connection, that is what we're trying to do. So thank you all for listening to the 48-hour friend rule, experience stacking design, the friendship formula. So fun to design these fabulous words. And the quote that I'd love to leave you with and wrap this power half-hour session with Paz is to really not underestimate the power of friendship, and especially in the networks and the communities that you're creating, because these bonds are tight stitches that close up the holes that you might otherwise fall through. So if your community has holes and it's a leaky bucket, of course, you're not going to just keep pouring more water. It's all just going to fall out. You're not just going to keep welcoming new members for them to just churn and leave. We want to make sure that we're creating the conditions for connections to form and for people to leave with friends so that they bring new members to join your community. They have this incredible time. They stay for the years to come, maybe forever. And of course, you leave a lasting impact. So thank you all so much for listening to the Friendship Formula. This is a photo from the Community Collective's 4th birthday party last month in Melbourne. It's like really intense, isn't it? It's just a bit of the energy, and we're obsessed with orange. And so that brings us to the end of this segment